Okay, so for this video, we are going to be checking your homework. So if you do not get what I get, you need to be fixing it in pen. Okay, so number one on page 549, you have to determine whether each pair of polygon is similar and then explain. So we can see that all of our angles are the same because they all equal 90 degrees, so we have the same shape. But if we look at our sides, so I'm going to set up proportions. I'm going to put my smaller number on top. So if I'm comparing this side, I need to compare it to the longer side on the other triangle, so 4/8. And I need to figure that out. Is that equal to 3/7? And it is not equal because this equals 1/2 and this equals 3/7, which are not congruent. Therefore, they are not similar because the angles are congruent, but the proportion of the sides is not. So you would say not proportional. Okay, for number two, I look and I see, okay, all of my angles are the same in my shapes, therefore they are the same shape, so I have to figure out if my sides are. So all of the sides in the shape are congruent, so I just have to pick 3/5. Does that equal 3/5? And yes, it does. Therefore, they are similar because the sides are proportional and the angles are congruent. Each pair of polygons is similar, so now they are telling us that they're similar, and we have to figure out the transformations that maps one onto the other and then find the missing side measures. So the first thing I would have to do to get from this shape to that shape is I would have to dilate it. So obviously I'm going to shrink it. So you would say dilation. And if you said shrink, that's awesome. Or maybe you went from the smaller to the bigger and put enlargement, that's fine. And then we'd also have to slide it. So, and translation. Okay. Then we need to compare and figure out what the missing side measure is. So again, if I compare this side, 8, over, I'm actually going to use this side. So this side is 8, and I'm comparing it to this side, which is 3. And that needs to be the same or equal to 12 over its corresponding side, which would be x. I'd use the butterfly method to solve, so 3 times 12, which is 36, and that equals 8 times x, and then to solve, I divide by 8, so x should equal 4.5. Even if you set your proportions up differently, so maybe you had 3/8 is equal to x over 12, you should get the exact same answers that I do. That's a decimal in there, 3.5. Okay? For number 4, again, I would have to use dilation, and then I'd also have to slide it, so and translation. And then I'm going to figure out the missing side length. So there's a couple of different ways that you could have compared this one. I'm going to use 21, and it matches up with this side length here because these angles that enclose it are the same. So I'm going to use 10.5, and that should equal my other side length of x over 10. Now, if you were to set up a different proportion, maybe you did 29 over 14.5 is the same as x over 10, you would still get the same answer that I do. So then I would use my butterfly method. So 21 times 10 is 210, and that equals 10.5x. I divide by 10.5, divide by 10.5. So either way, I should get x to equal 20. Okay? Moving on. Number 5. It says the figures at the right are similar. Find the area of both figures. Okay? So remember, to find the area, you take length times width. So if I do this small figure, 8 times 12 would give me 96 centimeters squared, because we're talking about area. And then for the other one, I would take 14 times 21, which would give me 294 centimeters squared. Compare the scale factor of the side lengths and the ratios of the areas. So what this wants, if I compare my side lengths, so I would put 8 over 14, and I would put 12 over 21, and then I compare that to the areas, which the area of my small figure was 96 over the area of my large figure, which was 294. You should get all of, so these two are equal to each other. And then you should get, and if we simplified both of these ratios, so if I divided this one by 2, I would get 4 over 7. And if I divided this one by 3, I would get 4 over 7. So that is how I determined that they are equal. And then if I simplified this one by 2, I would get 6, not by 2. If I simplified this one by 4, I would get 16 over 49. And they want to know, how does this ratio compare to this ratio? And looking at the numbers, if I took 4/7 and I squared both the top and the bottom, I would get the ratio 16 over 49, which is the area. So when you're comparing the ratios of the side lengths, which was this, to the ratios of the areas, to figure out the ratios of the areas, you would take both the top number squared and the bottom number squared, because you are talking about area, which is square units or squared. Okay? So if you just kind of showed some work for that, that is fine. Quickly, number 6. So I didn't get time to finish that problem, but my work is here, and then x is 3/10 centimeters should be your answer. So if you didn't get that, you can go back and look at my work and see what I did to get that.